We're hitting a new level of funny today. Today's tripod is a pick and mix cup. It's good to be back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, creepy friends. Welcome to... Shall I be Nixie Bobs today or shall I be that Thunderbirds girl? You call it. Either way, we are back after a small delay last week. So let's rewind and talk everything that's happened in the last week that stopped me doing this. I know I was going to do like a series 2 preview, but quite frankly I knew nothing about the upcoming series, literally nada, and I was kind of going into it with a blind eye and quite happy about that. I figured rather than kind of try and pick holes, the easiest one being the mechanic, which we will get to, I'd leave it and just see how the series played out. It seemed like the most sensible thing to do. So that was kind of already out of the picture. I was just going to do the final 1965 newbie slash oldie, the radio cast, the Thunderbirds 1965 project episode, which was the Stately Home Robberies. I was going to get that out and stick on the end that I didn't really know what to do. You get the drift. And then I got ill. It got to about, I think it was 2 weeks ago, probably on about the Wednesday. And it actually started Monday. And I just slowly started to feel worse and worse and worse. I couldn't breathe. I lost my voice completely for quite a while. I could talk, but I was like that, basically. I had nothing. There was no point in me even trying to talk. So I was updating Twitter and telling you that I couldn't do that. It was just what it was. I can't, if I'm ill, I'm stuffed, basically. When you're vlogging and you've got no voice, you're stuffed. All I was going to do was run through some of anything that I had on file. Like I will record random things throughout the weeks if I've got something in mind and do that, but unfortunately I couldn't even do that because I was being too lazy. So of course then it come down to the start of the new series last week, and God, I feel so damned awful that I could not get episodes 1 and 2 out, but I couldn't talk. I was literally home watching them as you lot did, and I had no voice to talk with. I couldn't do it. Fast forward to last week, and if you've watched the now called Hangwoman vlog, I quite like the idea of Hangwoman. We're running off of Hangwoman, Hangman, and The Walls Are Closing In from Who You Selling For, because I just think that's cool. Hopefully now got my voice back. I can talk again, so we are going to do some bumper edition of the last 3 episodes of the new series of Thunderbirds ago, because I owe it to you guys to do it. I watched them all again last night and took notes because I didn't take notes the first time. What I've tried to do is try to keep it a little bit short and sweet so that we can fit all 3 in without this dragging on for too long. And then obviously as of next week we'll be back with the individual episodes as they go, because I will finally be able to do it. So let's start with episode 1, which was Earthbreaker. And most importantly, the introduction of our kind of new villain, the mechanic. But we'll start with the whole and I break it all down. I'm going to try and as well re-evaluate the way I do these. I feel like I babble on too much about what the episode's been about. When you guys have watched that, I don't feel like you need such an in-depth recap. What I like to do is kind of try and find the random points and any kind of Easter egg points and discuss those with you, and then try and maybe discuss things that we're not necessarily great fans of. So let's get into it. Enough babbling. So there is so much to discuss with regards to the Earthbreaker. The next 2 episodes aren't as important yet as this one. We have Sonar D103 thrown down a crack in the rocks after the lovely mechanic, we don't know his name at this point, crushes open the earth and sends them flying down as they try to escape. Consequently, we get a quick launch at the start with Scott and Virgil, with Alan and Gordon at the house, and we'll get to Alan's little cushion comment in a while. So meanwhile, the GDF try and destroy the Earthbreaker, which sends them into trouble. The mechanic manages to release these little kind of spider crafts, almost like the Matrix, you know, the Sentinels in the Matrix, and they completely corrupt their systems. They all go down, so the GDF are kind of screwed, basically. And the mechanic can contact everyone's system, which is kind of intriguing to me. It's a new kind of technology that he can just interfere in your radio systems even if you don't want him to, and he warns everyone to stay away. But of course, obviously, Scott's saying all we want to do is rescue the people, we don't care what you're doing. That's for the GDF to kind of get you to stop doing. When Virgil goes in to try and rescue, mechanic throws his nice little sentinel spiders at Virgil, completely corrupts Thunderbird 2, and we're all sitting there crying at that point, I think. Consequently, Virgil cannot carry on with the mission. He gets sent back to international rescue. And then we have a big, big, big Easter egg moment here. Virgil's crash landing on Tracy Island is shot by shot an absolute homage to the episode Terror in New York City, which we actually covered a little while back, vintage episodes, while we were waiting for this series to begin. Bar a few little things like Virgil getting injured and stuff like that, I kind of would have happily, not meanly, seen Virgil a little bit bashed up after that. I think it made sense that he was a little bit bashed up. The fact that he wouldn't was a bit but it was shot for shot paying homage to that episode, which is quite a crowd pleaser. You guys chose me to do that one. So while Scott awaits orders and tries to figure out what to do, Lady Penelope goes to interrogate the Hood, which comes to no real avail. She doesn't really get much out of him, although he's convinced that he is somehow involved with the mechanic. So while Scott eventually uses Thunderbird S's cloaking camouflage feature, which I thought was just awesome, to jump down into the crevice to go and rescue this crew from D103, KO goes to take on the Hood. She confronts him. She has to run for it. She can use her glove to try and get brains into the system. He ends up nearly corrupting Eos with John in space. They can't really get into it as much as they like, but in the meantime, while Scott's busy rescuing the chicken in Vic, KO manages to help the mechanic kind of corrupt his own systems as he sends little different things to try and kill her. Turns out that everything is neuro-linked to the mechanic, which is, again, is kind of fascinating. It's going to be interesting to see how IR takes down this tech in the coming episodes, especially given the fact that they are supposed to have an absolute superiority in technology to anybody else, including the GDF. Thankfully, everyone managed to get out safety, with the mechanic still there. We're not really sure what the mechanic was doing. We know he was mining, but we don't quite know why. It's probably something completely illegal and that we don't want going on. But again, we'll find out exactly what his thing is going into it. We do know that it would have cost an awful lot of money to do this, so he has to be quite a wealthy dude. So with everyone safe, the episode ends, but ends up, as I said, raising a whole lot of questions for IR and for the fan base. And it was a good first episode. It was fast-paced. It was a great rescue from start to finish. It wasn't so much of the secret ops like we've seen. I think people were getting, certainly older vintage fans like myself, were getting a little bit annoyed at the end of last series with regards to the fact that some of it was too, like, secret ops and more policing work. IR is rescuing, not for that kind of thing. But we are just all sitting here wondering who the damned hell the mechanic is, I think, right? So let's start from the beginning. No one, and I mean no one, liked Alan's sofa cushion fault line at the start before Virgil and Scott take off. Nobody, everywhere that I have read about that, everyone has slated that comment. It does make Alan too immature and makes him seem inferior, and I didn't like that whatsoever. I thought it was just too stupid. I don't know why it was said. I don't know who created that line. Shoot that person down. However, in saying that, a favoured thing was indeed the Thunderbird S launch sequence that went down the storm. Now, someone did raise a good point when I was initially discussing the mechanic when I did preview the couple of promos we had. The Hood did always seem to answer to someone in the original. Maybe that someone was the mechanic. Who knows? We have the Hood, the mechanic. What's next? For something else? Now, Brains is obviously somehow connected to the mechanic. The mechanic has mentioned once or twice in the episode that he knows Brains and has said, say hi to Brains for me. Someone put it out there. What if it's Fermat? Please God, no. No. Halloween's over. I don't want to be scared anymore. It's season 2. And everyone is still in the same outfit. And the bloody onesie came back! Someone burn that onesie. Glowing hood eye. Who saw it? Who saw the glowing hood eye? I felt his eyes looked quite yellow, actually, in the Penelope interrogation. I was sitting there going, I'm getting flashbacks. And then at the end of the episode, his eye kind of glows. So is he a robot, the Hood? Is he a fake, the Hood? And the real Hood's still out there? Or is he getting his powers? If he gets his powers, I swear to God, I'm probably going to run around this house screaming with excitement. I don't think they're going to do it. But if they did, I'd be a happy little fan. And that was indeed everything that I had written down on the first episode being Earthbreaker. Let's go straight into episode 2, which was called Ghost Ship. John is in his own lovely spacecraft with Eos as his little friend. I like Eos. The more I'm hearing Eos, I do like it. I like John's loner mentality, but I like the fact that he's got a little friend in Eos. You've got a friend in me, Eos, you know? It's gone on to Toy Story there. Toy Story 4's coming out in like 2018. Have you guys seen that? And he picks up a call from Ridley O'Banner, who has been catapulted after checking a supposed to be dormant ship and she's leaking oxygen. So he says, I can rescue her. So he puts on this cool, big mechanic outfit, goes out to get her, eventually catches up with her, rescues her. She has passed out because of lack of oxygen, poor cow. So the ship that she went to investigate was a supposed to be extinct ship that's just there. The GDF just go to check it over every so often, of course, naturally. And apparently it was active and she can't work out why. But John scans it on his cool little arm device. I like those. And picks up signs of life. So just in case there are any signs of life aboard that need rescuing, they both go to investigate Eden. It seems like they're being haunted. That's the theory of it, is that it's a ghost ship. Alan has said while Scott was talking to John in base, that he always felt the ship gave him the creeps. There's a real sense of ghosts and haunting rounds on this one. I was not overly pleased with the line, there's no such thing as ghosts. I'm a complete ghost believer. I believe in all of the spirits and stuff like that, so I didn't quite appreciate that. But then when you're aiming it as kids, you can't tell kids that ghosts are real, because that would scare the hell out of them. So after inspecting the ship for a little bit, John and Ridley come across a little spider creature, which John proceeds to pee off, and it tries to hurt them, so they have to like fly away in zero gravity as quickly as possible. For some reason John can't seem to contact base despite the fact that his technology is quite strong. This gets Scott to launch Alan into space because obviously he's worried that John might need rescuing, that something's wrong. And eventually when Alan does catch up with John, he's drinking a juice carton. I didn't quite know what that was. And they do wonder if they're being haunted. You've got Alan being a total child, John kind of trying to man up, but like trying to hide the fact that, okay, I'm a little bit scared of being haunted right now. Ridley guides them to find the core of Eden, and when they do, they discover a pair of really bad pirates. And they're quite entertaining, really, the pirates. I've got to give them their due. They're essentially trying to get scrap metal to sell back down on Earth and make money from it, but what they've been doing to hide their actions is using a cloaking signal, which has caused the bots within Eden to reawaken, and they're fulfilling their mission of building Eden, which is what they were created for. Unfortunately, when the pirates decide to take the cloaking device off, the nice little bots then try to kill everyone and destroy the whole of Eden while everyone's on board. So we're going to have to rescue ourselves and run the hell away, right? Basically, leg it. Thunderbird 3 can't be brought in because it's too big, and John did previously take the suit off because, as Alan pointed out, it was damaged, but he brings it back in and uses Alan to steer him on his shoulders, which I thought was quite fun. We saw that shot. It was quite a cool little sequence of Alan being this navigator and stuff like that as they try to run away from Eden before it all explodes. I like the sequence, I really did, and it looked like fun. It looked like something I would kind of want to play in, actually. I think it looked like fun. Is that just in my own little disturbed mind? Episode ends with Alan dropping John back off at the space station. Everyone's safe and happy end, apart from the fact that they joke around at the end and Scott hears them. But John rescues again! Everybody loved that. Everybody loves it when John Tracy rescues someone and when John Tracy is utilised. Is it just me, or has John become a serious fan favourite in this series? I think people like him more than they like Scott and Virgil sometimes. I hear such nice things about John and how this series has completely changed a lot of perceptions of John. It's been really good, actually. I'm enjoying John more than normal. You guys know that anyway. Well, hey, as well, Alan launches solo, no accompanied missions. It's going to stop being 4.5 men now, isn't it? I hope so. I had a brief flashback in rewatching this episode, and I think it's the episode of Sunprobe where the little guy's trying to fix his ship in the sky, and he gets blasted off and thrown into a course for the sun, and that launches, I think, is it Scott, Tintin and Alan to go and rescue the guy. With her floating around like that, I kind of had a mental moment back to Sunprobe. Anyone know if it was kind of loosely based on that moment? It kind of fascinates me to know what it's like to just be floating around in outer space like that. You know, when John's kind of cracking a joke about what's that marble blue ball beneath me. I wonder what it's like to just float around in outer space like that, just looking at this blackness, and it's a mental fascination, I think. I don't know, I just think it looks cool. Does anyone else just want to fly around in outer space like that, or is that just me and my creativity going boo? I did like the bonding, the cute bonding at the end between Alan and John. There was a nice little brotherly moment there, and we don't often see John have a huge amount of interaction with his brothers, so I did enjoy that between, I think it's John, Scott, Virgil, John, Gordon, Alan, I believe, right? Is that the right progression of births? So it's nice to see the middle child and the younger child having a nice little bit of conversation. All in all, it was a good episode. Everyone loves a John rescue. I think they're getting that now, so well done for that one. Moving swiftly on to episode 3. It's called Deep Search, and this again was actually another outer space mission. So maybe they're just using Alan a little bit more in the series. I think maybe they've looked at what people are saying, and there's only, I've said this before, we all like to see Thunderbirds 4 and 3 used more than usual. I mean, we had that ingenious episode with Thunderbird 5 last year, but there's only so many water and space missions one can do, I think. So let's start with it. Ellie and Buddy become trapped after searching for signs of life on a moon far away in the solar system. And it turns out they're fairly famous natural scientists. Gordon's like a mega fan. Must be like me watching stuff like Naked and Afraid, because I do so love that show. So Gordon and Alan launch in Thunderbird 3 to go and help them. But this is where things get a little interesting. Thunderbird 4 is docked into Thunderbird 3, and we have never seen that done. I didn't even know that was possible. That was an absolute genius move. I've never ever seen that. I never even thought that that could be done. That's really cool. I enjoyed that. I think that's going to divide a lot of fans, because obviously you got Thunderbird 2 as your freight craft, and that was the point of it. So I think it might divide a few fans. I haven't read much about this yet because I just watched this episode for the first time last night. I was busy doing stuff at the weekend. At the danger zone, and we don't hear that phrase used anymore, the danger zone. I wrote that last night. I was like, oh yeah, we don't hear it. We find out that Ellie and Buddy, aka the Pendergast, are actually trapped 10 miles under the surface of this moon, and it's freezing cold ice. So they somehow got to penetrate it down. So this is where we find out that Brains has actually given Thunderbird 4 a few new toys, and it's essentially created a lava heated mole that attaches to Thunderbird 4. So Thunderbird 4 can now essentially be its own little mole, I think. So they managed to get under the ice and penetrate the ice, which is keeping the warm, because the thing that was neglected a little bit, especially when it came to Gordon and Alan, was that it is actually like minus 260 degrees Fahrenheit on this moon. Ellie and Buddy mentioned at the start of the episode that they've got these suits to protect them from the cold, and while I'm assuming that the heated mole is what's keeping Alan and Gordon warm, there's no mention of them ever being cold, and they certainly don't have special heat-proof suits in this episode. Minor plot hole. Unfortunately, in the middle of going to save the Pendergasts, Gordon loses the heated mole lava thing, which means that they've now only got 10 minutes to get up before the nice little hole, the borehole that they've made, closes, and then they're going to be trapped under forever. Alan has to manually dock and go out into the cold, again not really thought of, get Ellie and Buddy out of their little mini craft which they've got. But then just as they're about to leave, everyone's on board and very kind of squeezed into Thunderbird 4, I have to say. They find signs of life, and everyone immediately decides, let's go and find it. They come across this like jellyfish rainbow thing, and it turns out it's millions of little signs of life all flocking together in like a little brigade of alien thingamajigs. I don't know what they are. I thought it looked like one big jellyfish to me. So rather than follow them, they do have to get out. But when they go back to the borehole, uh-oh, we ran out of minutes. It's shut. You're trapped. Except they're not. There's been explosions going all over the surface. So what they do is go back under the water and find a tide which shoots them up out of the ice. They run back to Thunderbird 3. Everyone's saved. And we all go home happy and alive, most importantly. Big thing about this one is that Alan headed up the mission on his own, and Scott made sure there was emphasis on that, which is good because again we're slowly dropping the 4.5 men thing that I was moaning about all last season. It flashes me back, and as much as I didn't mind Brady Corbett being Alan Tracy in the movie, I don't want to see Alan treated like the kid. We need to just stop this now, guys, okay? He needs to be a full adult and not a child. I kind of noticed as well, it seems like the younger the brother, the shorter the trousers. Does anyone know that? Because Gordon's got like 3/4, Alan's got short. So Alan tries to be responsible throughout the whole episode, but Gordon is distracting him. Gordon is being more of a child than Alan in this, which is kind of funny. I don't know if it was his intention to do that, but he was acting more like the child than the younger child. The good thing I enjoyed about this one is that there's actually a massive emphasis on time frame and scale. in a lot of the vintage episodes, and I would never pick holes in the vintage episodes to a point, kind of are always shown, especially with space episodes, that they seem to reach quite quickly. The one that I think that was the most time consuming was, again, Terror in New York City, where it took 24 hours to reach the two guys. But there's a lot of emphasis here on the fact that time frame, and it takes a long time to go and find Ellie and Buddy, which is important, because I think sometimes there's an impression that it's kind of a boom, instant, all right, we know that these crafts move faster than the speed of blooming light, but that was kind of cool. And also at the end, when it turns out they have to be in incubation for a month because they've been around an unknown life form, also kind of funny, but also kind of realistic, because you don't know what kind of diseases it could have and what it could penetrate into Thunderbird for. We don't know, but it was kind of a good move, and I'm going to be interested to see if that plays into the next episode or not. Maybe they're still in quarantine, or maybe they'll just forget all about it. I thought Thunderbird 4 came across as really freaking badass in this episode. I thought it looked amazingly good, and it kind of opened our mind to more features about it than we thought. We always knew it was submarines and that it could use its grappling hooks, but now we found that it can have all different kinds of devices attached to it as well. I thought that was a good idea, because it means that Thunderbird 4 is more than just a submarine. Same as Thunderbird 5 was shown last year as being more than just a satellite. It was interesting as well, and a slight little plot hole, to see Ellie recording Alan and Gordon retrieving them, because it was always really important that no Thunderbird craft was ever recorded, but here she is, and they are taking selfies and recording what they're doing. Nah, I don't know if it's meant to be ignored, but I'm going to mention it. They used an amputee in this episode. Buddy clearly has lost half of his leg and is using a blade. I think that's really important to show kids as a whole that people come from all different walks of life and have all different normalities and disabilities. I think there's so much of it in today's society. I mean, I think 60 years ago, things were so different. Biggest kind of disability style thing we had in the original was Brains' stutter, and that is just down to the time. Things were changing back in the 60s, but obviously now we're so open-minded as a society, and people are not unable just because they've lost a limb or something like that. So it's really important that they're showing that in Buddy, and I hope they continue to show differences like that as the series progresses. It was probably the funniest episode of the three that we've had, with the interaction with Gordon and Alan and the light-hearted humour of the episode. So far, I think that we haven't really seen as much of the mechanic as I would like, but obviously they've got to pace the mechanic throughout, because obviously he's going to fit into the main body of the series and the ultimate plot, and you can't really kind of shove him in people's faces too much, because they'll run out of bad stuff the guy can do. They've changed the time frame of this as well. It's no longer on at 8:30 in the morning, it's now on at 3:30 in the afternoon. Did that come down from me mentioning that all last year? Maybe you took advice. Probably didn't, but I'll just like to think that maybe you listened to me, but you probably didn't. I like the fact that this means that they've got that little bit more room to push the boat out in terms of danger and stuff like that. Obviously, we are never ever going to see the guns back in the series, but the later time frame is definitely a positive for fans. I did talk to someone about the time frame of the episodes. We're still 25 to 30 minutes per episode. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Captain Scarlet always went by on that kind of time frame, and we always loved those episodes. I think what this series does is cuts out some of the middleman of stuff that we don't necessarily need. You know, as much as I love seeing the crafts launch, we don't have to see it every episode. We don't have to see that full 5-minute time spent as we used to in the vintage ones. It's not a dig, it's just an observation. And also it can create a slight bit more adrenaline in you when you're watching these episodes and they're going by that much quicker. You're more caught in the moment, whereas sometimes I suppose in the older ones things would slow down a bit and you'll kind of sit back and then you go, oh. There's a lot of up and down, I guess, in that respect, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm looking forward to seeing how the series progresses, mainly because I want to know what the Hood's got to do with the mechanic. Is the Hood even human? Are they bringing back his power? Who is the mechanic? Why does he know Brains? When's someone getting abducted? That's one that's come into form most recently. I love seeing a Tracy brother in danger, and that's never going to change. But it seems like we need to have... I would just love to see the mechanic just grab a brother and demand the hood back in exchange for the brother. I think that would be a cool little way of doing it. Does anyone else agree? Maybe I've just spoiled a future episode there, I don't know. But that's kind of in the back of my mind. I would write an episode like that personally, but you're talking to an abduction novelist. What do I know? Thank you everyone for watching this super long edition of the first episodes. I will now be able to do them individually as the weeks go on, unless I lose my voice again. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, please do. If you'd like to follow my Twitter primarily, because I neglect Instagram, that's also down here. It's up to you. Do comment, do let me know anything I've missed, anything maybe that I haven't seen, any little Easter eggs for the older school fans. My camera's now running out of battery. I've got to go and eat before I go to work. I will see everyone again for more Thunderbirds, more beauty boxes, and anything going on in my life, because we just do whatever comes to mind. Bye everyone.